Hey guys, I'm Hemel, and if you've been following me for a while, you might have picked up in some of the videos where I've mentioned that I have health issues and that's why I'm unable to work, and hence why I create these kind of YouTube videos to keep me inspired, keep me going, and to help me build something while I recover. But this video is going to be a little bit different. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about it, but I've been suffering from chronic pain for the last 9 years, and I honestly cannot believe it's been that long. I suffer a lot of tight, tense muscles which span from my head all the way down my spine that just covers my entire body. Some people call it fibromyalgia, but to be honest, that's just a generic version for widespread pain. And only as of this year do I feel like I'm taking steps toward getting back to my usual self. It's been a really challenging and difficult 9 years. I honestly didn't know whether I was going to get through it, but here I am. I'm not fully recovered. I'm still suffering daily. I have difficulty sleeping, getting through the day, dealing with any kind of stress because I just constantly have flare-ups. However, in saying that, I have improved a hell of a lot. And you might be able to tell from my YouTube videos, which I started last year in January, to the way I look and sound now. And that's because I've been implementing this brain retraining or neuroplasticity approach, and it just seems to be working more effectively than anything else I've ever tried. And I've tried a fair few things. I've tried the traditional approach, which was 3 years trying the medical approach, having treatments, physical therapy, medications, getting scans done, seeing several specialists, and unfortunately none of them could help. And then the following 4.5 years, I went to changing my diet and following strict protocols, where I went completely vegan, was eating completely plant-based, more raw foods than ever before in my entire life, taking a ton of different supplements. And by the end of that 4.5 years, I can honestly say it didn't help me. Even though there was marginal improvements, it just wasn't enough, and I was in a dark place for such a long time. Like, I lost a ton of weight, I looked and felt unhealthy. I wasn't actually feeling any better, but I stuck to it through encouragement from others that followed the same protocol. Yeah, and diet just never made a big enough shift for me to feel better. But with this brain retraining approach, I mean, that has been shocking at how drastic and how quick the improvements have been. I've been doing it for about 6 months now, and I'm in a much better place than I was 6 months ago. And I'm able to do much more than I ever could just with the last 2 months alone. Like, I've engaged back into sports again. I'm waking up early and going for walks. I went on a weekend breakaway, which I haven't done in many, many years. And I actually got to have fun. I've been more eager to meet people and to make new friends and to just do more interesting things and explore. Whereas before, I just confined myself to my apartment. And with the pain levels being so high, I wasn't able to meet friends, do anything outdoors, to be honest, including work, do any kind of exercise whatsoever, because all my muscles were just so rigid and tight. With the worst part of my pain around my head, like a crushing feeling, it was and it still is a bit of a nightmare, but it's reduced significantly. And I'm very hopeful for the coming few months where I'm going to feel okay to good again to great. I'm much more hopeful than ever before, and I wanted to create this video just to share what I'm doing, as it takes a mind shift, because I was so skeptical of this kind of approach. It just didn't make any logical sense to me, how stress and emotions can play any kind of role to creating physical pain. But from my experience now, like, it's as clear as night and day. But I guess I was just too stubborn and I refused to believe it for the past 8.5 years. And I feel I would have recovered so much quicker. But on the flip side, I probably wouldn't have been convinced to try this approach if I hadn't gone through what I did. So in this series of videos, I just want to start with the most common question I had when I first started this, and that was, how can stress or emotions cause any kind of physical pain? After reading some books, one by John Sarno called Healing Back Pain, another one by Alan Gordon called The Way Out, both these books convinced me, with the knowledge and the studies it had, that this is actually possible. Our brains are more powerful than we believe, and it controls every single systematic, automatic process within our bodies via our nervous system. Whenever we're stressed, that's an emotional, mental factor, being stressed. That causes physical symptoms like sweaty palms, or your heart rate starts to increase, or you start to lose focus. These are all physical symptoms. And in the same way, it works for chronic symptoms. And the basic concept is our brains are creating these symptoms as a way to communicate to us, to, believe it or not, protect us. I know it doesn't feel that way because going through any kind of pain is just horrible. It's an absolute nightmare. And how could our brains possibly do that to us? So I'll just start off by giving you an example. So if we touch a hot stove, that signal is going to go from our hand all the way to our brains. And our brains are going to interpret that signal as danger, because if we keep our hand there, we're going to burn ourselves. So as a result, it sends down pain signals to say, stop touching this stove. The problem lies in the fact that we're stuck in a loop when it becomes chronic. Even though you're nowhere near that stove, out of the pure fear and that fear of never wanting to touch it ever again, that fear loop can continue, and that's when it becomes chronic. So your hand can hurt in many different scenarios, not just when you're touching a stove. It could be when you're typing on a computer. It could be when you're playing sport like badminton or tennis. It's whatever your brain learns as being dangerous. From John Sarno's work, whenever we go through like traumatic experience, those fearful, anger, sadness emotions can be suppressed and into our subconscious or our unconscious, because we don't know how to process them or express them. And we may think we've just got over it within 30 minutes or so, but in actual fact, because we haven't learned how to process and express those emotions, they remain in our subconscious, and that manifests into physical symptoms, whether that's pain or aches or tension, whether that's nerve pain or ligament or tendon pain. As described in one of the books, to have symptoms is our brain's way of distracting us from our emotions. And the neuroplasticity concept, which is all about your brain creating new neural pathways, it's almost like a habit. So if you're doing one thing and you react a certain way, it will just keep looping on that habit because that's the way you've always done it, and it strengthens every time you respond the same way to your symptoms. And that's why people tend to get worse once they've had a symptom. It just seems to escalate, especially if it's over months and years. So the key objective here is to change the way we respond to our symptoms. So from all the research I've done and the videos that I've seen, the key to overcome and to recover from chronic pain doesn't matter whether you've had it for 1 year or 10 years like I have. The key is to respond well to your symptoms. It's to change your habit. It's to change the way you perceive those symptoms, because most people are stuck in that fear loop. When the pain comes on, the first thoughts and emotions are fear and danger and something's going to go wrong. What if it lasts all day? This is going to be forever. This hurts so bad that I'm never going to get out of it. This is a horrible life to live, and so forth. Your mind just goes wild. And instead, it's more about almost forming a relationship with that pain. As hard as that sounds, is to be okay with the symptom, no matter how difficult. Even if you're going through severe pain like I have and sometimes still do, you have to teach your brain that you're not afraid of it. You have to teach your brain that it's okay to be there, and your brain lowers its defense system. It's only sending out these symptoms because it believes that the thing that you're doing is dangerous. So you've got to teach it that it's not. And you do that by not fearing it. And then eventually your brain learns that you're not actually in danger and you're completely safe. So over time, the pain starts to dial down and eventually it will stop. And I believe I'm in that process where my pain is starting to dial down. It's very, very subtle, and it's different for everyone in terms of how long it can take. But I've had mine for quite a long time, and I guess it's been hard for me to be convinced that this can actually work. So it's probably taken me a bit longer. I'm 6 months into this brain retraining approach after 9 years of severe chronic pain that's been completely debilitating in more ways than you can imagine. And the main reason I believe it is psychosomatic, meaning the mind-body connection where the mind can create these kind of symptoms, is due to three reasons. My pain is inconsistent because any kind of structural pain should be there constantly all the time, even though I have constant pain, but it also changes every now and then, and it shouldn't change so much. Second thing is because it moves around my body. Sometimes it's the whole of my right side, sometimes the entire of my left, sometimes it's just my head. And the third thing is because it gets triggered by anything and everything. I used to have to sit on a desk chair for about 8.5 years. I couldn't sit on a sofa. I needed a cushion to sit on when I sat into a car. Lying down just triggered the pain instantly. Any kind of position would trigger my pain. But as soon as I let go of that fear, I'm now able to sit on a sofa without experiencing any kind of flare-ups. I can sit in the car seat without a cushion. I'm still working on lying down on my bed and not experiencing pain, but it has improved over the 6 months, and I'm quite excited for it to be completely gone over the coming months. I know how dark it can get when you're going through severe chronic pain. You feel like it's not worth living. You feel like there's no way out. You don't even know who you are anymore. You're not able to do all the things that you could before, and it's just normal things like going to sleep, sitting down on a chair, seeing some friends, going on a trip. For some people, it might be just going for a simple walk or doing any kind of household chores, which I couldn't do before at all, but now I'm doing everything. I just want to instill you with the hope that I thought wasn't there, but I'm telling you right now that there is hope, there is a way out, it is possible. You've just got to be willing to broaden your mind and be open to this kind of information, because it can sound a bit far-fetched, but if I can do it, anyone can. Believe me, anyone can. So feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along on my journey and be part of this series, where I'm going to share more experiences that I've been through that can help you get out of chronic pain. And once I've completed my ebook, where I'm going to share more tips and more ways to come out of this, to recover from chronic pain, I'll be sharing it on here. Yes, so I'll see you in the next video.